Have you ever wondered why some people grow stronger when life becomes difficult, while others simply turn away? Have you ever faced a problem that looked so big, you were tempted to walk around it instead of through it? And what if the very obstacle you are avoiding today is quietly carrying the reward meant just for you? Long ago, in a prosperous kingdom surrounded by wide green valleys and busy market roads, there lived a wise and observant ruler named King Edward Halston. King Halston was not only respected for his power, but admired for his deep understanding of human nature. He often told his advisors, in a calm and thoughtful voice, that a nation's true strength did not come from gold, armies, or tall walls. It came from the courage of its people, their willingness to work, their readiness to face difficulty, instead of running from it. But as the years passed, the king began to notice something that troubled him quietly. Many people in the kingdom had grown comfortable, quick to complain, slow to act, always waiting for someone else to solve the problem. And most of all, the king worried about his two young sons, Prince William and Prince Henry. They were intelligent boys, kind-hearted, well-educated, but the king feared they had lived too long in comfort without truly understanding responsibility. One cool autumn evening, as the golden sun dipped behind the palace towers, King Halston stood by the tall window of his chamber deep in thought. Then slowly, a quiet idea formed in his mind. The next morning, before the city had fully awakened, the king summoned his royal guards. His voice was calm but firm. "Today," he said, "I want you to place a very large stone in the middle of the main market road." The guards exchanged brief, puzzled glances, but no one questioned the king. "As you command, Your Majesty," the captain replied. Within the hour, under the soft light of early morning, the soldiers rolled a massive, heavy boulder directly into the center of the busiest road leading into the city. It sat there, unmoving, impossible to ignore. After giving the order, King Halston brought his two sons up to the high watchtower overlooking the road. From there, they could see everything clearly. "Today," the king said gently, resting his hands behind his back, "you will learn something no book can properly teach." The princes leaned forward with curiosity. The morning traffic soon began. The first to arrive were several wealthy merchants, riding in polished carriages pulled by strong horses. Their clothes were fine, their posture proud, but the moment their carriage wheels met the enormous stone, everything stopped. One merchant leaned out of his carriage, his face immediately twisting with irritation. "What kind of management is this?" he snapped loudly. "The roads should be clear." Another shook his head in annoyance. "This kingdom is becoming careless," he muttered. They complained, they blamed, they grumbled loudly enough for everyone nearby to hear, but not one of them stepped down to examine the stone. Not one of them placed a hand on it. After several minutes of frustration, they ordered their drivers to turn around and take another route. High above, the princes watched silently. King Halston said nothing. Not long after, a group of tired laborers approached on foot, their clothes dusty from a long morning's work. They stopped when they saw the stone. One man wiped the sweat from his forehead. Another sighed deeply. "This is unfortunate," one of them said. A second man looked up toward the sky. "Perhaps this is simply fate," he murmured. They stood there for a moment, talking quietly among themselves. Then, one by one, they carefully walked around the stone and continued on their way. Again, no one touched it. Prince Henry shifted slightly, but the king remained still and silent. As the sun climbed higher, a respected royal officer approached on horseback. He was known throughout the kingdom for his loyalty and discipline. When he saw the large stone blocking the road, his expression immediately grew serious. "This could cause trouble for travelers," he said to himself. Without hesitation, He turned his horse sharply and rode quickly toward the palace, clearly intending to report the issue. From the tower, Prince William nodded slightly. "That man is responsible," he said quietly. King Halston gave a small, thoughtful nod, but still said nothing more. Hours passed. One traveler after another arrived. Some complained loudly. Some shook their heads and walked away. Some simply avoided the problem altogether. But the heavy stone remained exactly where it was, untouched, unmoved, waiting. By late afternoon, the golden sunlight began to soften. Long shadows stretched across the dusty road. It was then that a simple farmer named Thomas Reed came slowly walking down the path. His clothes were plain, his boots worn, his shoulders heavy with the weight of a long day in the fields. Across his back, he carried a large sack of harvested grain. He was clearly exhausted. When Thomas saw the massive stone blocking the road, he stopped. For a moment, he simply stood there, breathing slowly. The princes leaned forward with interest. Thomas wiped his brow and looked carefully at the obstacle. He did not complain. He did not curse. He did not look around for someone else to fix it. Instead, he quietly set his heavy sack down by the side of the road. From the tower, King Halston's eyes softened slightly. Thomas stepped toward the stone. He placed both hands firmly against its rough surface. Then slowly, steadily, he began to push. At first, nothing happened. The stone did not move even an inch. Thomas paused, catching his breath. His arms trembled slightly from fatigue, but after a brief moment, he leaned forward again and pushed harder. The muscles in his shoulders tightened. Dust shifted beneath his boots. His breathing grew heavier. Still, the stone resisted. From above, Prince Henry whispered softly, "He's too tired, he won't manage it." But Thomas did not stop. With a deep breath and one final effort, he gathered every bit of strength he had left and pushed with all his might. Slowly, very slowly, the massive stone began to roll, an inch, then another, until finally, with one last powerful shove, Thomas pushed the heavy rock completely off the road. He stepped back, chest rising and falling with exhaustion. But then, something caught his eye. Where the stone had rested, there was now a small leather pouch lying on the ground. Thomas frowned slightly and bent down to pick it up. When he opened the pouch, his eyes widened in disbelief. Inside, it was filled with shining gold coins. For a long moment he simply stared, almost unable to believe what he was seeing. Just then, footsteps approached from behind. Thomas turned. Standing there were King Halston and his two sons. The farmer immediately stepped back in surprise and bowed deeply. "Your Majesty," he said, still slightly breathless. The king smiled warmly. "Those coins belong to you, Thomas," he said gently. The farmer blinked in confusion. "To me, Your Majesty?" King Halston nodded. "You were the only one today who chose responsibility over complaint, action over avoidance." The princes stood very still, watching closely. The king then turned toward his sons, his voice calm but meaningful. "Remember this well," he said. "The obstacles in our lives are not there to block our path." He paused, letting the lesson settle. They are there to reveal who is willing to move forward. Prince William lowered his gaze thoughtfully. Prince Henry stood silent, clearly absorbing every word. "When we face difficulty with courage," the king continued softly, "we do more than clear the road." He looked toward Thomas with quiet respect. "We discover strength we did not know we had." The evening sun dipped lower, casting warm golden light across the quiet road, and in that peaceful moment, two young princes learned a lesson no classroom could ever fully teach. Because sometimes, the greatest rewards in life are hidden behind the obstacles most people choose to avoid. If this story gave you something meaningful to reflect on today, please take a moment to like, share, and subscribe so more people can discover the quiet power of facing life's challenges. Thank you for spending this time here. Wishing you courage in your difficulties, strength in your journey, and many meaningful victories ahead.